Buy something or leave, Starbucks says. Ladies and gents, how you doing? Now, we all know that the Bootneck is chippy and northern, and as such, he likes being proved right more than anything else in the world, alright? So this is a fantastic day. Do you remember about 4 years ago, I think I made a video about this whole Starbucks fracas when there was an incident involving two chaps who went in there, refused to buy anything, plonked their asses at a table, and when the manager said, can you leave that seat for a paying customer? They dutifully whipped out the woke identity politics card, started crying about prejudice as if Starbucks doesn't serve 20 million people of ethnic minority background every year, and then obviously turned it into a national story. Do you remember that one? You probably do, because I made a song and dance about it, boycotted Starbucks and haven't been back for about 4 years, and, well, as you might expect, the chickens have come home to roost, because look what was on the BBC yesterday. Buy something or leave, Starbucks says. Yeah, very short and to the point now, aren't they? Very short and to the point now. Weird. They've changed the tune a little bit. I seem to recall them doing something else to tackle this problem. Do you remember? Tackling it like most woke companies do, or governments, which is doing the exact opposite of what you should be doing. Do you remember it? This story's from the very, very left-wing PBS News. PBS SoCal, so it's even more woke than normal PBS. Starbucks closed more than 8,000 stores for an afternoon of bias trading. Will it work? Will it work? It's also a nice example of Bootneck's law, isn't it? Which is, I used to just say the BBC, but we can broaden it to every left-wing news organisation. If they start a headline with a question, the answer is always no. All right? So, simple question. Starbucks closed more than 8,000 stores for an afternoon of bias trading. Will it work? Will it work? The answer to this question is the same as it would be to this question. Would Jeffrey Dahmer have changed his eating habits if you just took him to Pret one day and bought him a nice succulent carrot cake? Okay, love this story, love being proved right, love seeing common sense in action, love seeing actions and consequences. And funny old thing, when you antagonise normal, tax-paying customers who just want to have a cup of tea in peace, and you make it impossible to do so because you encourage people who refuse to buy anything to go in there, take all the tables and chairs, and occasionally, and I have seen it, march into the men's room and fully have a bird bath in there. Right, a dirty, manky, crusty, nasty old Harold Ramp would routinely wander into the Starbucks near my house when we lived in Los Angeles and just fully crack his morning routine in the sink, and then I want to nip in for a squirt when I've just had a cup of tea, and I'm forced to deal with 500 pubes on the toilet seat, 2,000 pubes in the sink, and what smells like a dead badger in the bin next to the shitter. We don't want to deal with that. We just want to have a drink in pleasant surrounds and be on our way. And if you introduce ludicrous, preposterous, deranged, woke policies that incentivise nasty, mentally ill, homeless blokes sitting in there all day and having long conversations with their own feet or shooting up in the corner, funny old thing, normal people don't want to drink the tea in there anymore, do they? Never saw that coming 50 miles away, did you? For those of you that don't remember the story, it was these two fellas. They got arrested at a Philadelphia Starbucks, Dante Robinson and Rashon Nelson. They asked to use the bathroom as they waited for a business meeting. What business do they own? I want details. Do they own a business? Or were they just loitering? Answers on a postcard. They were told it was for paying customers only, which is perfectly reasonable, and every business has the right to do so. They then occupied a table without making a purchase, which many observers have not. Okay, so you're making excuses for them. The short version is, they were sat in there, they didn't buy anything, they started giving the manager lip. So the manager called the police. The police said every business has the right to refuse service to anybody they want. They still refused to leave, so they got arrested for trespassing. We all know the script. It's happened 10,000 times before because we incentivise bad behaviour because everybody's hoping for a nice compensation payout. And that's all it is. Anyone who owns a business. If two random blokes come and park their arse at your tables and chairs and refuse to buy anything, what do you do? What do you do? What's the alternative? If you don't throw them out, what do you do? Just let anyone who wants to come and sit there and they don't buy anything? Are you mentally ill? Don't answer that. There's a lot of lunatics watch this channel. The ludicrous, upside-down response was for Starbucks to apologise to the two loiterers, close all of their stores for an afternoon of unconscious bias training because the woke media and the woke politicians started having a pop at them even though they didn't do anything wrong. And then they even threw the manager under the bus who ran the place, even though the manager was just doing a job and trying to run a Starbucks without having loiterers come in and malinger when they're not buying any products. Needless to say, they sacked her, trying to placate the woke mob. She obviously won 2.7 million in damages because they fired her for no reason. The lady involved here is Shannon Phillips. I think she was a regional manager. Because Shannon Phillips isn't a walking toilet like all of the activist journalists who made a mountain out of a molehill. She was fired a month after the furore because she objected to the manager being placed on leave, according to the lawsuit. And there you go, boom, 2.7 million down the Swanee. Cheers, easy. And it neatly leads us in to the story that I started with. Buy something or leave is the new policy. Starbucks says it is reversing rules for its cafes in North America that allowed people to use their facilities even if they had not bought anything. Really? You do surprise me. This is the thing with the ludicrous, infantile, juvenile, hopelessly optimistic left. They always get there in the end. It just takes them 10 years of abject failure, doesn't it? In 2018, they did everything wrong. They pandered to the mob, invited in vagrants and tramps to come in and shave the pubes in the bathroom sinks, right? And pebble dash the toilets and take the socks and shoes off and dig the toenails out on the tables. they incentivise that behaviour. And then they get surprised when the profits go down. Mad that, innit? Starbucks is where, like, you know, office executives, if you're in a white-collar company in downtown LA, and you're going to have a business meeting, you might go to Starbucks afterwards. If you're wearing a suit to work, you don't want to take the vice president of Cal Power for a meeting in Starbucks, buy him a chai latte, and then sit down next to a bloke who smells like a sack of arseholes, do you? The changes, which are set to come into force from the 27th of January, are a U-turn from a policy introduced 6 years ago that allowed people to linger in Starbucks and use their toilets without making a purchase. And here's the best bit, because you're in the UK with a woke government who'd probably throw Starbucks out or something. Starbucks said there was no change to its policy in the UK, where customers can continue to use the facilities without purchasing anything. Amazing. So the profits have tanked. They've lost tens of millions of dollars. They've had to pay compo to the normal people who got fired for just doing the job and standing by the principles. And they're desperately trying to win back the customers they've left by incentivising penniless vagrants, junkies and vagabonds to use Starbucks as a meeting place. But alas, in the UK, you're still going to have to deal with it. So, on the plus side, there's a lot of very, very interesting homeless waifs and strays in the UK. You know, you might bump into a Somalian pirate captain who will regale you with tales of his life on the ocean waves. So, enjoy yourselves, London Starbucks patrons, alright? Thankfully, though, in Trumpy's America, see, the Orange Oracle, he hasn't even took office yet, and he's already getting shit done. That's me for the day. Let me know what your opinions are. If you think Starbucks was bang out of order, telling people, oi, if you don't buy products, you shouldn't be sitting at our chairs and tables. If you think that, I'd love you to expel some reasons out for me below as to why you do. I remain convinced that you won't be able to do that by typing anything rational, but maybe you can consult your invisible friend and he'll give you some wise words to put in the comments section. Alright, that's me for the day. Please let me know what you think down there, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.